Mind yourself.
Today, we take a look at a freeware game aptly titled Streets of Rage Remake. This is a remake of a series of games so titled Sega Genesis for Mega Drive. But before we look at our spotlight bit of freeware, let's take a look at the original Sega Genesis classic. Released in 1991 for the Genesis, this game hailed as a pioneer in the brawler category. Streets of Rage, or Bare Knuckle as it's called in some Asian territories, definitely has remained one of the must-have titles for Sega collectors through the life of the Genesis, and still today for Genesis collectors. It's also showed up on the Game Gear in 1992, and back on the Sega Master System in 1993. Not quite sure why they did this. Imagine a game coming out for the Super Nintendo and then being released for the NES. But hey, that's marketing. There's a ton of material in this game across the internet. There's even a petition for a Streets of Rage 4. Now, I don't know how much game developers listen to petitions, but I do know there was a petition to make another Splatterhouse game for a long time, and now another Splatterhouse game is on its way out, but that might just be a coincidence. There's also a game called Beats of Rage, which is similar to Streets of Rage Remake. We're going to look at that maybe another day. But I thought this was just another game for the PC, and it is that, but I found out the game was actually developed as a Dreamcast downloadable CD image. So somehow this is meant to be downloaded and playable on your Dreamcast. I don't know. If that sounds interesting to you, you'll have to do some research. But I left a link to that site in the more info of this video. So with all that said, let's take a look at our spotlight game, Streets of Rage Remake. Now the first thing about this game is that it seems to be a remake specifically of Streets of Rage 2 rather than 1, which is good considering the improvement that game was over its predecessor. Graphics seem to flow a little better. I don't know, maybe they're the same, but the frame rate is higher so they appear better. Either way, I'll take it. Also, in the Sega original, you can play as only 3 characters, and in part 2 you can play as 4. But look at this, where did all these guys come from? Well, that's pretty cool. You get a combined roster of the characters from Streets of Rage 1 and 2, plus this guy. Who the heck is this guy? I have no idea what game he came from, or if he came from anywhere. Not to mention there are 2 unlockable characters. But speaking of unlockable, look at the title screen. We have some pretty neato looking modes, which unfortunately I haven't unlocked, so I won't be able to feature in this video. And that's all well and good, but there's just one thing you're forgetting. Okay, just kidding, but back to the point. I haven't been playing the Streets of Rage games over the years because when I was a kid, my mother would only let us have one of the 16-bit systems. We went with the Super Nintendo. But Streets of Rage Remake reintroduced me to the game the kid down the street had, and the rest of the world loved. This is one of the ultimate freeware arcade-style downloads. I have a link where you can pick it up in the more info of this video. Special thanks goes out to the HalfBlindGamer for recommending it. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give Streets of Rage Remake a rating of... This is Critical Failure with Tiger Claw TV, signing off.